Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be another writing related video, and today's video is going to be all about character flaws. I am going to give you 10 examples of character flaws to give the main protagonist in your book or other work of fiction, and at the end I am going to give my #1 tip for writing a flawed main character, so stay tuned. This is a video idea I discussed making a few months ago, and people commented saying they would be interested, so I hope this video is helpful to you. It's very important that the main character in your work of fiction has both strengths and weaknesses, because realistically, every person is flawed. Me, you, everyone. There is no such thing as a perfect person. So creating a main character who is flawed will be realistic and also make them more rootable for the readers, because it'll make the character feel more like a real person. Of course, a lot of new writers especially are worried because they're afraid if they give their character flaws, then they won't be likable. And I understand that. It is a delicate balance. This list today is not meant to be the be-all, end-all of character flaws. It is just going to be 10 ideas for flaws that you can give your main character to get you thinking. So let's just get started with the list. I will give you some ideas of character flaws you could give a character in your work of fiction, and at the end I will give my #1 writing character flaws tip. Let's dive in with #1 on the list. #1 on my list of 10 character flaws you could give your main character is pride or arrogance. Think of example, Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It's literally in the title of the book. Perhaps your main character thinks that they know best. They have a lot of confidence in their own opinions to the point that it is bordering on arrogance. This is a good character flaw to give your protagonist because you can take them on a journey throughout the book where they are effectively humbled. For example, Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice has spent his whole life with a wealthy upbringing, and he's been raised sort of to believe in his own superiority, but his relationship with Elizabeth Bennet helps him become more self-aware and inspires him to become a better person. #2 on my list, being reckless or impulsive. I feel like this is a really good character flaw to give your main character, especially if you are writing adventure stories, murder mysteries, thrillers, even fantasy. I feel like this is a character flaw that I see quite frequently in books, movies, and TV, and honestly, I think that makes sense because this is a character flaw that is really going to lend itself easily to dramatic scenarios. If your main character charges into danger without thinking twice, then it makes it really easy for you as the author to get your main character and their friends into life or death situations. It just naturally lends itself to drama. #3 on the list, being headstrong or stubborn. It is very good to have confidence in your own opinions and be assured of yourself, but if your character is so wedded to their own opinions and decisions that they don't listen to the other characters or consider that perhaps their choice of action is not the best one, it can naturally create conflict. This is a really good character flaw to give your protagonist if you want to have a lot of interpersonal conflict with other characters in the story. #4 on my list is being bitter / cynical / jaded. Perhaps your main character has a tragic backstory or has gone through traumatic events in their past. Perhaps they've been betrayed by a friend or lover before, and because of their past, they now have really lost their faith in society, humanity, etc. This could be a really good character flaw for you to choose if your main character has gone through a lot of hardship or suffering, and it could also make for a really great narrative arc if you want to introduce a love interest, family member, or friend who is going to help that main character rediscover their faith in life and humanity. #5 on this list is being stingy. I think the perfect example of this is Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. At the beginning of the story, he is this old miser who really doesn't have any friends. He treats his employee not very well, but throughout the story, he ends up becoming a better person and realizing what is more important in life. Number 6 is a character flaw that I definitely have, which is being socially awkward. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with being an introvert. I think that's totally normal and acceptable. Of course, I am one, so I'm going to say that. But if your main character is in a position where their fear of social interaction and putting themselves out there is preventing them from having meaningful relationships with others, that is when it becomes a character flaw. And this could really work for your story if you want to take the main character on a journey where they do end up having to put themselves out there in ways that they aren't used to, and end up with them being able to build these meaningful relationships that they haven't been able to form before, whether those relationships be romantic or platonic. Number 7 is a character flaw that I am just going to describe as being overly independent or not playing well with others. Perhaps your main character is a loner type. They really believe that they know best and they are used to doing things on their own. While it is a good thing to be an independent person, sometimes you also have to collaborate with other people and let other people into your life. This could be a good character flaw to give your main character if the plot of the story is going to force them to work together with another group of people. It's a good way to challenge your main character and force them to do things they wouldn't ordinarily do. And then at the end of the story, they can realize that maybe good things do happen when you let other people into your life. Number 8 on my list is being hedonistic. Now, this basically refers to someone who is very devoted to pursuing life's pleasures, whether that be partying, sex, drugs, alcohol, etc., at the expense of other meaningful things in life. The prime example of characters who have this character flaw is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. That is basically what this entire book is about. Dorian Gray and Henry in this book both are hedonists, and those are their character flaws. A character who is so devoted to life's mortal pleasures, they may be, a really fun character to be around, but is their hedonism preventing them from forming meaningful attachments with deeper connections? Number 9, another character flaw you could give your protagonist is being overly naive. This would be particularly good for you to choose if your character has lived a relatively sheltered life leading up to the beginning of the story. Some characters who I would describe as being naive at the beginning of their stories would be characters like Anna from Disney's Frozen, also Rapunzel and Tangled, or Sansa Stark at the beginning of Game of Thrones. This would be particularly good if you want to have your character go onto a journey into the larger world for the first time, where they are confronted with realities of life that they have not faced before. And number 10 on my list of 10 character flaws you could give to your protagonist is being vengeful. I just finished reading The Count of Monte Cristo, which is the perfect example of a vengeful main character. Perhaps people have done your main character wrong in their lives, and the reader is going to sympathize with them because of that reason. However, while it is totally understandable to want justice, if your character devotes themselves to getting even with the people who have done them wrong, it could cause the main character to lose sight of what is really important, and then they'll have to face a decision about, do I continue down this path of vengeance, or do I give it up to potentially save my soul? So those are 10 ideas of character flaws for your protagonist, or any character in your story, really. Of course, there are many more you could choose other than the 10 on this list. These were just some ideas to get you started, but now I am going to tell you my number 1 tip for writing a flawed main character. This is the most important thing to think about when deciding your character's flaws, in my opinion, and here it is. Your character's biggest flaw should also be directly related to their biggest strength. Obviously, at the end of the day, you want your character to feel fully realized and like a real person, so it is important to think about how their strengths and weaknesses intermingle and go together. For example, a character who is very generous is probably also not going to be stingy. They kind of conflict with each other. But perhaps a character who is very educated, wealthy, sophisticated, they might also be hedonistic. It can make sense how those traits would go together. So now, to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about, I'm going to go through my list again and talk about some character strengths that could also go with those flaws. So, for example, somebody who is prideful or arrogant could also be very elegant, refined, intelligent, wealthy, educated, things like that. They may be a person who is very knowledgeable, who has a lot of experience in life, who has seen the world, who knows a lot about a lot of different things. And because they have had this privilege and these experiences, that's resulted in their arrogance. Somebody who is reckless or impulsive is probably also going to be brave and courageous. They're someone who is committed to doing the right thing and helping people, but sometimes at the expense of their own safety. Think about most Gryffindors in Harry Potter. Somebody who is headstrong and stubborn may also be very passionate, very intelligent, have a lot of strength in their convictions, and just be really relentless in pursuit of their goals and what they believe is right. All of which are admirable qualities, but can be problematic if it goes to the point of being blindly stubborn. Like I sort of talked about already, if your character is jaded, that is likely because they have gone through a traumatic past filled with suffering. And while that may have resulted in them being a bitter or cynical person, it also shows the reader that they have a lot of strength. They're a survivor who has experienced these terrible things and made it through. Somebody who is stingy, well, they're also going to be determined and successful. Perhaps the reason that they're stingy is because they grew up with nothing and are a self-made person. Everything they have in life, they achieved through their own hard work and determination. That's very admirable, but it could also result in them being so stingy because deep down they have a psychological fear of losing what they've gained. Somebody who is socially awkward may also be very kind, empathetic, and introspective. They may also be a very keen observer. They're someone who watches life and they notice details that other people may not. Somebody who is overly independent or doesn't play well with others may also at the same time be somebody who is very confident, determined, and self-sufficient. Somebody who is hedonistic may also be charming, funny, and the life of the party. And somebody who is vengeful has a strong sense of justice. If they are going after people who have done others wrong and not suffered the consequences, there is something in that that is very satisfying to a reader because everybody, roots for the underdog. Everybody wants to see people be held accountable. So everyone, those are 10 ideas for character flaws to give to your protagonist. I hope this was helpful and got you thinking about how you can make the character in your next project more fully fleshed out. If this video was helpful to you, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does help my channel so much. And subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I hope you have an exquisite rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.